This is my persuasive speech, and here's my audience. To Kill or Not to Kill by Ryan Cuddy. Carlos De Luna, Ruben Cantu, Larry Griffin. You're probably wondering who these people are and why do I care about them. All three of these men were convicted of murder and were sentenced to the death penalty. All of them were executed, but they were later found to be innocent. The U.S. has been having a lot of troubles with the death penalty because it's a very controversial subject. In 1970, the death penalty was found to be unconstitutional, but by 1976, it came back with some very strict restrictions. Throughout this speech, I'm going to talk to you about the crime rates, the financial side, the side of people that believe in the death penalty should be legal, and what the Constitution says. Let's get right into this. So, a lot of people believe that the death penalty deters the crime from happening again. But that's not the case. According to a survey done by Radelet and Lecoq, of the former and present presidents of the country's top academic criminological societies, 88% of these experts rejected the notion that the death penalty acts as a deterrent to murder. That's pretty crazy. Only 5% of these very high up people believe that there is actually a correlation. In addition to this, according to the 2016 FBI Uniform Crime Report, the South had the highest murder rate. The South also accounts for over 80% of executions. But when we're looking at this, the Northeast has only 1% of all executions, but they have the lowest murder rates. So when looking at this, if it was deterring anything, you would see a high murder rate, or you'd see a low murder rate, but with a high execution rate. But that's not the case at all. Now that we've busted one of the myths about the crime, let's move on to the financial burden. Looking at the financial side of the United States of the executions, you can see that it costs a lot more money. According to the Dallas Morning News, in Texas, a death penalty case costs an average of $2.3 million, about 3 times the cost of imprisoning someone in a single cell at the highest security level for 40 years. The normal prisoner usually spends their time in the general population with the cellmate. But according to this, you could take one of those people out of that cell, put them in their own cell for 40 years, and take a cell away from someone else, and it would finally equal the cost of executing one person in the state of Texas. In addition to this, according to a study by Alarcon and Mitchell, the cost of the death penalty in the state of California has been over $4 billion since 1978. When looking at the picture here, you can see that California has only had 13 executions by the death penalty in the whole entire state since 1976. That means that $4 billion is going towards only 13 people getting executed. This money could be going towards something that's way more beneficial towards the state, but instead it's going towards something that's inhumane. Now let's move on to why people believe the death penalty should be kept legal. A lot of people that support the death penalty believes that it provides closure to the victims and families and loved ones, and that was brought to you by a website called Death Penalty Pro Con. What this means is that people believe when someone gets executed that killed someone they loved, that they don't have to worry about it anymore, that it's finally closed off, it's just done. In addition to this, the danger of reoffending is gone. What I mean by this is that person who was the murderer can't come back and kill someone else, they can't escape from prison, they can't hurt anyone else. All the employees, all the nurses are safe now. And so that's another big reason why people believe in the death penalty. I felt like telling you about some of the things they support because it would be unfair if I only showed you one side of the argument. Now let's move on to what the Constitution has to say. According to the U.S. Constitution, the 8th Amendment of the United States, excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. I'm not going to worry about the first part, but just about the cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. The United States, since 1976, has had 1,500 executions. The primary method of execution is lethal injection. But in addition to this, out of the 29 states that offer the death penalty, 16 of them offer a secondary method. Some of these secondary methods are electrocution, gas chamber, hanging, firing squad, and hypoxia. To me, the three of electrocution, gas chamber, and hanging are probably the most gruesome ways you could probably get killed. All of these don't kill you right away, but they make you suffer even longer. To me, it's amazing that they give these people the choice to have this happen to them. In conclusion, we went over a lot, and I'll give you a little refresher. We learned that the death penalty does not deter crime, that it is a financial burden on the United States. We talked about what people support for the death penalty, and that is a very cruel and unusual punishment. There's some things I want you to take away from this, and one of those things is that this is not going to be a short process. This has been a very controversial subject for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it's just not going to happen right away where the death penalty will be abolished. We've been making a lot of progress in the past years, though. Another thing I want you to take away from this is that a lot of news outlets like to tell you that the death penalty will help you with overpopulation and will make the prison systems cheaper, but as we have seen from this presentation, that's not the case at all. So I'd like to thank you for listening, and I hope this opened up your eyes about the death penalty.